Okay. Can I start, Prabhu?
Yes, bro.
Yeah. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. I'll start sharing my screen. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 28, verse number 10. Manochirat shadvarjam chitta swasasya yogina vayav agnibhyam yatha loham dhumatmam tyajati vaimalam. Translation: the yogi who practices such breathing exercise very soon freed from all mental disturbances, just as gold, when put into fire and fanned with air, becomes free from all impurities. Purport. Most Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. This process of purifying the mind is also recommended by Lord Chaitanya. He says that one should chant Hare Krishna. He further Pranayam Param Vijayate. All glories to Sri Krishna Sankirtan. All glories are given to the chanting of the holy names of Krishna because as soon as one begins the process of chanting, the mind becomes purified. Cheto Darpanamarjanam. By chanting the holy name of Krishna, one is cleansed of the dirt that accumulates in the mind. One can purify the mind either by the breathing process or by chanting process, just as one can purify gold by putting it in fire and fanning it with the bellows. Verse number 11. Pranayamir deha dosham dharanandibhischa kilbisham pratyaharena samasargan dhyanena vishram gudam. Translation: by practicing the process of pranayama, one can eradicate the contamination of his physiological condition, and by concentrating the mind, one can be free from all sinful activities. By restraining the senses, one can free himself from the material association, and by meditating on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one can be from all three modes of material attachment. Purport. According to Ayurvedic medical science, the three items, kapha, pitta, and vayu, phlegm, bile, and air, maintain the physiological condition of the body. Modern medical science does not accept this physiological analysis as valid, but the ancient Ayurvedic process of treatment is based on these items. Ayurvedic treatment concerns itself with the cause of these three elements, which are mentioned in many places in the in Bhagavatam as the basic conditions of the body. Here it is recommended that by practicing the breathing process of pranayama, one can be released from the contamination created by the principal physiological elements. By concentrating the mind, one can become free from sinful activities, and by withdrawing the senses, one can free himself from the material association. Ultimately, one has to meditate on the Supreme Personality of Godhead in order to be elevated to the transcendental position where he is no longer affected by the three modes of material nature. This is also confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita that one who engages himself in the unalloyed devotional service at once becomes transcendental to the three modes of material nature, and immediately he realizes his identification with Brahman. So, Saguna Samatityatitan Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate. For every item in the yoga system, there is a parallel activity in Bhakti Yoga. But the practice of Bhakti Yoga is easier for this age. What is introduced by Lord Chaitanya is not an interpretation. Bhakti Yoga is a feasible process that begins with chanting and hearing. Bhakti Yoga and other yogas have their ultimate goal of that ultimate goal, the same supersonality of Godhead. But one is practical and other are difficult. One has to purify his physiological condition by concentration and by restraint of the senses. then he can fix his mind upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is called Samadhi. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shanyavadi Paschata Desatarine. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Chargadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, everybody, welcome to Srimad Bhagavatam on this wonderful Monday morning. Today is actually His Grace Panduranga Prabhu's turn. He is traveling, so he requested me to kind of cover for him. Honestly, I told him I will read and then maybe, put a few comments, but leave it for the group to add more. Definitely a very beautiful section. As I started turning the pages today morning, it felt very nice to read this particular aspect. So, right now, in this particular chapter, as you know, we are covering the limbs of the Ashtanga Yoga. Yama, Niyama, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, the 8 stages of Ashtanga Yoga. But again, as Kapil Dev is narrating this, the science of yoga to Mother Devahuti, it is more geared towards bhakti. So in this case, it is Ashtanga Yoga, which is tinged with bhakti. So just like, how there is pure bhakti and then there is bhakti tinged with other activities like bhakti with karma, bhakti with jnana. In this case, Ashtanga Yoga is lightly tinged with bhakti yoga. So because the ultimate goal, even for one who is practicing this Ashtanga Yoga, is to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, like Srila Prabhupada was saying in this section, he says, I want to highlight here. Did I go back to verse 11? It's verse 11 only, yeah. Okay. So somewhere here, Srila Prabhupada says the ultimate goal of both Bhakti Yoga as well as Ashtanga Yoga is to realize the ultimate goal is the same, which is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, if you remember Bhagavad Gita, in the basics of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna gives a very nice example to Arjuna. He says, whatever purpose would be fulfilled by different wells. In India, in the villages, we have different kinds of wells. I mean, in the past, when there was no running water, whatnot, there were wells. One well was used for washing clothes. One well was used for taking bath. One well was used for drinking water and stuff like that. But Krishna there says, when there is a river, if there is access to a river for a village, there is no purpose of these wells. The river fulfills all the aspects of the different wells. So likewise, Bhakti Yoga is considered the river. It fulfills all the aspects. And that is what is being covered here. Srila Prabhupada also very nicely says there is parallels between Bhakti Yoga and also Ashtanga Yoga. Here it says, for every item in the yoga system, there are parallel activities in Bhakti Yoga. But the practice of Bhakti Yoga is much easier in this age. So we'll see, I'm referring to Bhagavad Subodhini. So interestingly, this section, early on, as Kapila Dev started to describe the Ashtanga Yoga process, Yama, Niyama, Asana. Now we are in the section of Pranayam. Yesterday, from yesterday's verse, verse number 10, we started with, verse number 9 itself, we started with the control of the mind through Pranayam Yoga. So verse number 9 showed us how to do Pranayama. So in verse number 9, Lord Kapil Dev is saying, one should practice breathing in, then holding the breath, and then breathing out. And some people do the reverse. Some people start with breathing out first, then holding the breath. Once you leave the breath out, you hold it so that now your lungs are empty. In the previous practice, your lungs were full with air. In the second one, your lungs are empty with air, and then you breathe in again. So that's the how do you perform pranayama. And then in verse number 10, it talks about how by performance of pranayama, one can control the mind. Obviously, mind is very, very strong, and it has to be controlled, right? And then in verse number 11, the benefits or the effects of other stages also, not just pranayama, but the effects of pranayam, the effects of dharana, the effects of pratyahara, and the effects of dhyana. So if we carefully look at the verse, pranayamir deha dosham, it creates the pranayam um, removes the dosha of the deha, and that's where Srila Prabhupada is addressing the aspects of kapha, pitta, vata, and as from Ayurveda. And then dharana abhischa kilbisham. What this one is saying is, let us see dharana. By concentrating the mind, the dharana, cha, kilbisham, all sinful activities are, one can destroy one's sins. Then pratyahar. Pratyahar is restraining of the sense. So when you restrain your senses, samas are gone, meaning we purify our material association. And then lastly, when you perform dharana or by meditation, one frees from the modes of material nature. So it is gradual stage, right? By performing the different aspects of yoga, the Ashtanga yoga, one is purifying at different levels. And then Srila Prabhupada very nicely explains how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu uh, gives similar lines, similar aspects, that are relating to Ashtanga Yoga. For example, we chant, in Ashtanga Yoga, pranayam is performed to control the mind. For us, we perform Sankirtan or Japa meditation or Nam Sankirtan. What is that? The main benefit of this is we purify the mind, which is Cheto Darpana Marchanam. We're purifying the mind, right? So in this context, something that really stuck with me for several years, I remember listening to Gaurang Prabhu about 10, 15 years ago or so. He brought up a very wonderful point that really, really stuck with me for all this time. He said, um, what is the purpose of our existence, right? We always go at a very high level. We say, we want to establish the love of Godhead. We want to develop Krishna prema. And, we speak high things. But if you deeply, deeply analyze, a lot of this Krishna bhakti or love of God is already in our heart. It's already contained within us. It's not something that we are, by performing these activities, we are getting that for new. But the important aspect is its purification. Whatever our practices are from a Vedic perspective is meant for purification. Once we are purified, everything that innately exists within us is manifested, actually, not unmanifest. So in this context, Gauranga Mahaprabhu, what he said is, okay, if we have to purify ourselves, what should we be purifying? One may ask, how do we, or what is that we have to purify? Because there are so many aspects to this. But at an innate level, if you go from step by step, each one of us has a material body. We have the deha or the material body. We purify our material body, which is composed of the five elements, earth, water, fire, air, ether, by taking bath. So on a daily basis, we have to purify this material body by taking a shower. Actually, by Vedic standards, you are supposed to take bath 3 times a day, right? So we purify our body by taking a bath. Now, once we are purified from the gross body, then there is the mind, which is one of the aspects of the subtle body. How does one purify the mind? Is we purify our mind through chanting the holy names. Then another aspect of our material body is our intelligence. How do we purify our intelligence? The way we purify our intelligence is by reading the Shastras. Shastras help us, fine tune or even connect to the essential truth. That's how we purify our intelligence, by reading Shastras. And last but not the least, we also have identity or ego. Um, Now, how does our identity get purified? Our identity gets purified, and for those of you who don't know this answer yet, it's surprising. Our identity gets purified by association of devotees. Um, I think most of us have experienced sometime or the other. You ruffle your feathers with other devotees, and you're like, why is this happening? I thought devotees are supposed to be nice, or why did that person behave like this, or why did this person say this to me? Um, but that is the nature of association of devotees. By associating of devotees, you're guaranteed, 100% guaranteed that our false ego is going to be hurt at some point. And then when that happens, slowly our false ego gets purified. So often, for people who, like me, for example, I put myself as an example, is who struggle with, why are things happening like this? Or, why somebody is behaving like this? They're supposed to be a devotee. They should not behave like this or whatnot. And Gaurang Prabhu gave this example. He said, ISKCON, is not the spiritual world. ISKCON is actually a asylum, somewhere like a correctional facility where different people with different kinds of false egos come, but with the goal of getting purified, right? A hospital is meant to cure uh, cure the deceased. So Srila Prabhupada's ISKCON movement is where when we come together in the association of devotees, obviously we will ruffle our feathers with each other. But the key goal is as we focus on the aspect of pleasing Krishna, as we focus the aspect of um, uh, with the aspect of pleasing the spiritual masters, while we ruffle feathers with other people, we have to remember that is the nature of association of devotees. It is meant to purify us. There, yeah, I think in essence, that's the main point. By coming in the association of devotees, yes, we definitely feel connection. We definitely feel enthused by other people's activities. But also, there is this aspect of we will also be purified when our false ego is triggered in the association of devotees. Yeah, this is what I would like to add here for today. But very beautiful verse in terms of how Astanga Yoga is connected to Bhakti Yoga when it's tinged with Bhakti Yoga. But ultimately, the end goal is to connect with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I'd like to stop here. If anybody has any comments or thoughts, please kindly share. Yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. Humble Shri Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
Very nice, Prabhu. Like I was thinking, the whole morning program that Srila Prabhupada has given touches upon all of those aspects that you said. Or even for that matter, the Sunday feast, right? Like where we come together, where we sing together, where we have prasadam. So, and we hear a little bit of Bhagavad Gita, or whatever the speaker is speaking. So, in a sense, Prabhupada has given this process both for devotees as well as for newcomers who are just coming to the temple by way of Sunday feast. So, a potent process, but packaged in a very simple and elegant way. That thought came to my mind. Thank you, Prabhu.
Oh, yes. Yes, Mataji. Yes, yes. Somebody was sharing, I don't know, I'm trying to remember. If you just perform the whole morning program, that is good enough. So it's Srila Prabhupada very nicely packaged it for us. Yes, Mataji. Mhm. Okay, if no other comments, we'll end it here for today. Grandhara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.